In policy terms, the vague pseudo-religious promises of Antichrist will provide much of interest to nominal and lukewarm Christians on both ends of the political spectrum. For those on the left, the beast's preaching of economic justice, a live and let live morality, and a proactive internationalism for the good of all mankind will have much to recommend it. For those of the right, his promise of millennial economic prosperity and limitless opportunity, his pledge to end crime and social upheaval, and his commitment to a forceful elimination of external threats under the guise of the conquering Messiah will prove hard to resist. In short, a golden age under the reign of this great messianic leader will seem a deal too good to pass up for all concerned. Christian skeptics who understand that all of these dreamy prospects are essentially secular and material rather than spiritual will find themselves increasingly on the outside. The threefold combination of the most effective satanic propaganda, the most intense pressure, and the least spiritually prepared Christian population in history will greatly contribute to Antichrist's success and to the process of apostasy. It is therefore understandable that Babylon, the place of the greatest Christian community, in terms of numbers, influence, and historically, in terms of effectiveness, will also be the place of greatest apostasy. Indeed, as the home country of Antichrist, Babylon will be the place where the great apostasy originates, and the nation which will see the most numerous and most dramatic defections from Jesus Christ. Given its influence in the Christian world, there could really be no better place for the devil and for his Antichrist from which to launch the last great assault on faith. One thing of which we may be sure in regard to the beast's politico-religious movement is that, while it may be purposely vague in specifics beyond the need to just trust the new Messiah, it will certainly not be lacking in excitement or in entertainment. To the world of that time, desperate for solutions, eager for distractions and open to seduction, the promises, the thrill, the confidence, the electricity of a mass movement more appealing and led by an individual more charismatic than anything previously seen will be difficult to resist and few will try. This seemingly righteous yet self-righteous movement will give direction and provide justification to all sorts of evils and hidden desires, even as it grants absolution for them through the safety which is often to be found in numbers and in popular causes. The promises of Antichrist's movement will prove a heady wine that will easily inebriate many of the inhabitants of Babylon, dissolving their fears and stimulating their lusts, as wine is wont to do, and thereby providing a substantial base for the beast from which to launch his coup d'etat and gain control of Babylon. The party Daniel 8:9 tells us that Antichrist will start small and yet quickly become the most powerful of the tribulational leaders, that is, he will come virtually out of nowhere and become more prominent than any of the 10 horns. Therefore, we may safely posit the rapid development, in the early days of the tribulation, of a mass movement coalescing around this previously unknown charismatic leader and propelling him into power almost overnight. However, it is important to distinguish between Antichrist's overall following on the one hand, that is, all those who, while they do become involved in his mass movement, yet possess widely divergent degrees of commitment to and understanding of his true aims, and his committed followers on the other, deemed here his party. Daniel 11:23 states that the beast's rise to power will be accomplished by means of only a small group, Meath Goy. We should not take this to be a reference to the numbers who flocked to his banner at that time, but rather to the small cabal, who are truly privy to his intentions. After men have leagued themselves to him, that is, Antichrist's inner circle, he will set his conspiracy in motion and will grow in power and become very strong, even though his faction, that is, his party, is small. Daniel 11:23. Because of the rapidity of his rise, seizing power in Babylon, gaining control of revived Rome, and defeating the only other major power bloc in the world, the Southern Alliance, all within the tribulation's first 3.5 years, it is virtually certain that Antichrist will begin to collect a sizable mass following right from the tribulation's inception. We can expect his actual party, however, to be quite small in comparison to the wave of supporters who sweep him into control of Babylon. It is also likely, as indicated in the quote given and paralleled by totalitarian movements of the past, that within this party itself there will be an inner core consisting of Antichrist's most trusted confidants, that is, those who initially league themselves to him even before his meteoric tribulational rise begins. Within this inner circle of leadership, containing the likes of the false prophet of Revelation chapter 13, it is probable that there will be no illusions about the beast's true nature and intentions, and that this cadre will most likely be engaged in organization and planning with Antichrist even before the tribulation commences. For the beast will no doubt be in the process of collecting and forming a group of disciples long before the tribulation begins and his true nature is revealed. It stands to reason that this inner following would be privy to his true origin and plans, and be in full complicity thereto, as opposed to those who are later amazed and join the mass rush to his bandwagon, which will ensue in no small measure as a result of the signs and miracles he will later perform. The supernatural element of Antichrist's appeal and the evidence it seems to provide to unbelievers that he is the Messiah also supports what we have suggested before about the beast's movement, namely that it will initially be a religious movement behaving like a political one. For this reason, we may likewise expect many members of the original party, that is built upon his inner cadre of supporters, to be religious figures and adherents for whom the line between religion and politics has been blurred through the acceptance of the person of the pseudo-Messiah, Antichrist. The promise of tangible rewards when once the beast comes into his kingdom, Daniel 11:24, will also have a powerful effect in motivating his followers at every level, and it should not be lost on believers that all the benefits and blessings promised by this ecumenical movement of the false Messiah will be material in nature, focused entirely on this world, and bereft of any true spiritual dimension whatsoever. The most important thing for Christians to remember when considering these matters before the time is that this exciting new personality will not be the true embodiment and fulfillment of Christianity as he will claim to be, and not even the fact that institutional Christianity will flock to him can make him so. He will not in fact be the true Messiah at all, but only a very cleverly constructed counterfeit, and of that we have been warned ahead of time by our Lord himself, the one and only Christ. At that time, if someone says to you, "Look," as they will tell you then, "Christ is here," or "Here he is," do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and will perform great miracles, literally signs, and wonders sufficient to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. Look, as I am telling you now. I have told you ahead of time. Matthew 24:23-25. The crusade, the religious focus of the beast's movement mentioned, will serve to make his rise to power more like a crusade than a political campaign. This will be true both in terms of internal and external policies. We have already suggested that Antichrist's social, economic, and foreign policy platform will make attractive and seductive promises of progress, which, of course, he has no intention of keeping once in power. But we may expect an even larger part of his and his party's appeal to lie in threats he promises to remove. While no one can foresee the precise condition of the world at that future time, the fact is that, after Antichrist's rise to power in Babylon and his subsequent gaining of control of revived Rome, the remaining portion of the tribulation's first half will be consumed by his two massive military campaigns against the world's only significant remaining power bloc, the Southern Alliance, Daniel 11:25-30. It takes no great leap to surmise that the growth of Antichrist's influence, both in Babylon and in revived Rome, will be at least in part because of the perception that he is the only potential leader capable of and willing to confront the growing threat to the West from this quarter of the world.